मुखे कर कर्मजान विद्धितान सर्वान एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्षसे. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Different types of sacrifice are discussed above, as discussed above, are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of worker. Because, because men are so deeply absorbed in bodily concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with the intelligence. But all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herewith from his own mouth. So on Monday we have started, and we are taking as usual Monday, Wednesday, Friday reading. Tuesday and Thursday we are taking the Bhagavad Gita class. So in the previous shloka, सर्वे अपि एते यज्ञ विदो यज्ञ क्षिप्त कल्मषः यज्ञ सिंस्ता मृतो भुजो यन्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम. So in the 30th shloka, just to revise what was said earlier, all these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reaction, and having tasted the nectar of the result of sacrifices, they advance towards the spiritual eternal atmosphere. So here it is very important. He says all these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions. So simply by doing, it is not going to be there. So what are the different of types of sacrifices that were described? Dravyamaya yajna, sacrificing one's own possessions. Tapomaya yajna, performing certain austerities. Swadhyaya jnana yajna, studying the Vedas. And basically, the common point in all these yajnas is what? That it is about sense control. So, if the senses are controlled, and mind also not, if the senses and mind both, they are not controlled, one can't achieve happiness in life. So the desire for sense gratification, wanting more and more, wanting to enjoy worldly pleasures, this exactly is the cause of our existence in this world, and further to that, suffering in this world. As they say in English, if you want to become happy, the first thing that you have to do is to stop trying to become happy. Right? So therefore, very simple thing we have to know. All of us, if we want to become happy in life, stop the mentality, or rather give up the mentality of enjoying, and second, give mentality to desire to have more and more. That is the cause of suffering. That is also the cause of our existence in this material world. So therefore, yajna, as it said, it is for what? Ultimately, to control. Simply sitting in front of fire and saying swaha swaha, burning fire, is not going to go to any use. We have to know that the ultimate aim or the ultimate goal of life is to attain residence in the eternal spiritual world. But does this stop us from being happy in this world? No. Understand the difference. The difference between trying to enjoy and being happy are two different things. Always wanting to enjoy, always wanting to do something, that is the cause of suffering. You will not become happy by that, because how much ever you get, because you're greedy, you want more, right? So that is the whole thing. Now, does it mean that if someone has to be a devotee of the Lord, he can't be happy? No. One will be happy, one will enjoy this life also. But again, I'm repeating and explaining the difference. The mentality of trying to enjoy life always, competing with others, comparing with others is the cause of this. But on the other hand, if we focus on controlling senses, controlling the mind, devoting ourselves to God, then there is happiness and it is guaranteed. That we must know. Now, the ultimate benefit of doing yajna is what? To go back to Godhead. But there are secondary benefits also, right? What are they? It is like Krishna explains, in the earlier part, Yajna Shishta. He says, Shishta means the remnants of Yajna, which are Amrita. So, in course of attaining the primary goal, that is to return back to Godhead, one also attains the secondary goals. Just as in factory, we are producing something, and as a result, something else comes byproducts. These are also useful, right? Like when they do something for a steel manufacturing, from steel they manufacture something. So when they manufacture, then there are some cutouts left, so they are sold as scrap. So that is money. There is a lot of money. Now, for those who follow the path of yoga, what yoga? For mystic powers. They get that. What are they? Anima, Lagima, Prapti, Mahima, Ishta, Vasishtva, Prakamya, and Kama Vasishtha. So what are these? Now, Anima is to become as small as a particle. Lagima is to become lighter than the lightest. Mahima, okay, Prapti is to get anything and everything from anywhere and everywhere. Mahima is to become heavier than the heaviest. Ishita is to act freely, even to create something wonderful or to annihilate anything at will. Vashita is to control all material elements. Prakamya is to possess such powers as will never be frustrated in any desire. And the Kamavasita is what? To assume any shape, form, as one may whimsically desire. But one has to be careful. What? When one gets that, one becomes proud. One should not lose the main aim. Therefore, it is said, that Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanta Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Athayava Shanta. Even a person who gets these Ashtasiddhi, Bhukti, a person who is behind Bhukti in Bhog, Mukti, one who wants liberation, Bhukti Mukti, Siddhi, one who wants Siddhi, Sakale Ashant, all of them are Asant. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, and the devotee of the Lord is Nishkam, he doesn't have any desires. Athayava Shant, therefore he is peaceful at mind. And therefore it is said that the highest yajna is Krishna consciousness. Right? So that's the thing, a background of what was discussed in 13. Now in the present, with what Lord Krishna is saying here, he is saying, oh best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What to speak of the next? Nayam lokosti avednyasya kutho na kuru sattama. So Lord Krishna is saying, Arjuna, that without performing yajna, one cannot attain the things of this earth, nor one can become happy. What to speak of attaining higher planets, which offer higher degree of material happiness? Extraordinary pleasures are there. That is out of question. If you don't perform yajna, forget about anything higher. In this world also, you will not be happy. So when one is not qualified for things of this earth, the question is, how can he or she be qualified for the things of higher planets? right? Even though they are in material plane, like in the material plane within the world also, if one doesn't work hard to buy 10 square feet of land, how can he have an acre of land or a few acres of land? He cannot. So those planets also are material, but because even for material level also you are not working hard. But we should remember as devotees that our aim is what? That our yajna is the ultimate yajna. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, sacrificing our pleasures or our comforts, going out of the way, helping for preaching, helping in preaching, being servant of Krishna and his devotees. That is yajna for us, and is yajna for everyone in Kali Yuga. Why? Because Kali is what? Kali Yuga, the Dharma, Yuga Dharma is what? Chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now we have to understand in general in this world what happens, that everyone is suffering or enjoying or both, depending on the amount of sins or piety that one has performed. Right? So happiness and distress, happiness and suffering is what? Nothing but the results or the fructification of our previous karma, either in this life or in the previous life. Hmm? Therefore, what should one do? One should not get bewildered when there is suffering, or one should not get unduly jubilant and feel happy when the things are positive. Therefore, Krishna says at one place in Bhagavad Gita, that one has to transcend the dualities of life. One has to go beyond dualities of happiness and distress, heat and cold, good and bad. One has to transcend that. Dukh ho ya sukh ho, garmi ho ya thandi ho. We have to transcend all that. Neither get bewildered when there is a problem in life, neither get just fly off when there is things are happening. Apparently, all happiness is there. So therefore, what one should do? One should be detached from the events unfolding in this world, whether in our lives or others' lives. We are not saying one should run away. No, we should be detached. All responsibilities should be carried. One should take up all responsibility as a father, mother, sister, brother, citizen, servant of Krishna in all material, but one should not be detached. One should be detached. One should not be attached. Right? There's a difference. What is the difference? There are three words: attachment, aversion, and detachment. Attachment is क्या मुझे चाहिए चाहिए चाहिए. I want, I want, I want. Aversion is I don't want. And detachment is what? If I get, it is okay. If I don't get, also it is okay. In the same way, they are saying that we should be detached from the activities of this world. What is happening? Happening. We have to face the consequences. But when we remain detached, we don't get troubled by that. Like for nowadays, I guess some cricket matches are going on. So when the Indian team loses and people feel bad, what is it? It is collective karma that everyone had to lose because they identify themselves with that, right? Then similarly, there are also personal karmas. Like you see a particular person in his life, things only keep on going bad, 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 bad to worse, bad to worse, bad to worse. Why isn't that? Because of karma. Nothing else. Now the question comes, why does a person commit sins? So a person commits sins because of ignorance. Ignorance leads to sin. Sins lead to bondage. Bondage is what? Being engaged or bonded in the cycle of birth and death. Thus, what happens? Our existence in this material world is continued. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Punarapi jananam, getting born again. Punarapi maranam, again dying. Punarapi janani jathare shayanam, again going into the mother's womb and suffering. Again, birth, old age, disease, death. Birth, old age, disease, death. So we keep in this cycle of birth, old age, disease, death. Right? But if we surrender to Krishna and his devotees, we surrender to the Vedic knowledge, then the Vedas gives us chance to come out of this bondage, to come out of this human form of life and make the best use of this human form of life to get out of this world. And therefore the Vedas say what? Dharma, Artha, Kama, and then Moksha. What is Dharma? Dharma is the first step. They are called as the Purushartha, the four Purusharthas, right? First is Dharma. What is Dharma? Performance of yajna, doing our duty. Second is Artha. When you do yajna, you get food grains, you get money, and all your material needs are satisfied. Then you go to the stage of Kama. You are able to enjoy. Why? Because you have Artha, you have money, you have resources, so you can enjoy. And then comes Moksha or liberation, right? That once you have done yajna, you get some things out of yajna, not by doing cheating business. Then that dharma, you get artha from that. From that, you get kama, fulfillment of essence. Then from that, you get detached afterwards and you want to go back to Godhead. So moksha. But a person who does not perform yajna, what is he? He's called as a thief, right? As we have read earlier in the third chapter, Krishna says what? Yajna shishta santo, yajna shishtanya santo munjate sarva kilbishah. Bhanjate te tum agam papam ye pachanti atma karna. What does it mean? It means the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal and sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. 3.13 Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, if we do not offer the fruits of our labor, of our actions to Vishnu, then what are we called? We are called as Tena Evacha, thieves, nothing else. But the modern world, there has been a stark increase in the level of self gratification. So much enjoy, 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 enjoy. And because of this technological advancement, one has got a false sense of comfort, false sense of confidence. And more and more advanced ways of sense gratification have come. Earlier, people were so happy getting 2 times meals. But the problem is what? Though the sense gratification has increased, happiness hasn't. In fact, distress has increased. More and more medical facilities are there and diseases are even more than them. Earlier, neither were there any medical facilities required and hardly anyone had any problem in their days. Right? So people are, what is the conclusion? The conclusion is that people are suffering more and more in spite of enjoying more and more. Isn't this an important point to note? And this was exactly what I was saying a few minutes back. That being happy and trying to enjoying are not the same. You may try to enjoy, but you should get happiness from that enjoyment. No? And that is what the statistics I was just telling. That people are suffering more and more. People are getting more and more enjoyment. In few years back, 50 years back, there was no TV. 100 years back, there was no radio. Before that, there was no motorcycles, cars, scooters, air conditioners, fans, watches, camera, mobile phone, no House Bahu wala serials whole day to see. But people were much happier and much satisfied. But today they are not. So therefore, we should understand, being a devotee, we will be happy in life. But our mentality or our lookout will not be that we want to enjoy, 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 enjoy. Rather, one should see that how I can be on the path of bhakti, how I can serve the Lord and his devotees, how I can chant my rounds nicely, how I can increase the quality of my chanting, how I can follow the four regulative principles, how I can be developing better and better qualities. There are 26 qualities of a devotee that are mentioned in the Shastras, right? How I can develop those qualities. This is what one should see. And one will see that if one is doing this, he will surely be happy in life, right? So that is the point. With that, we come to the end of the 4.31. We go to 4.32. एवं बहुविधा यज्ञ विदित ब्राह्मणो मुखे कर्मजन विधितन सर्वान एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्षसी. Translation: all these different types of sacrifices are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. I'll read the purport. Different types of sacrifices are discussed above, are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of workers. Because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with the intelligence. But all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herewith from his own mouth. So, yajnas may be giving so many byproducts. But the point is what? It is ultimately for liberation from the cycle of birth and death. And why are there different kinds of yajnas? Why the Lord has created so many of them? They have been created for suiting different people's desires. Because people in the world do not have the same mentality. Within the family, if there are 5 people, 6 people have 6 different mentalities sometimes. And what makes one's mentality, what develops or freezes one's mentality? It is his previous karma, it is his association. Now, why have people performed different karmas, different types of karmas previously? Now, that depends on their use of their free will. How they use their independent desire, how they use their independence to do what they can do in a positive way or a negative way. The present mentality of a person is developed. One of the main factors is the samskars, right? And that mentality, as we call, is called as a nature of a person. By nature, like, someone is very cool, very patient, someone is very flickering in the mind, someone is very impatient, and all these kind of things. So, just to summarize, we can say that a person's nature or a person's mentality is born out of what? Of the following four. One is the past karma. Second, the mode of material nature he is associated with. Three, as I was saying, what kind of people he associates with, that is his association. And fourth, what kind of food he or she has. So we have to be very careful that if we want to have a good nature, and if we don't have a good nature, if we want to make our nature good, then what should we be doing? We should be first. Now, past karma, we cannot do anything. So we should chant so that our past karma will get burned. Then the modes of material nature, we are associating with now. So we should come out of the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and try to come to mode of goodness. Now, what kind of people we associate with, that we can choose. We've got the association of devotees, so we should associate with devotees. Why go here and there? And what food we eat, we know what to eat and what not to eat. Only vegetarian food, avoid onion garlic, avoid masoor dal, fast, avoid grains on Ekadashi. So all these kind of things we have to do. So therefore we should know that the highest goal or the highest goal is what? Attaining transcendental knowledge. So now Krishna is emphasizing here a very important point about yajnas. What is he saying? He says that the yajnas are arranged in this such a way that one could work with his mind, his body, his speech, intelligence. But again, the conclusion is what? That the highest sacrifice is what? The highest sacrifice is doing Krishna conscious activities, chanting, following four negative principles, preaching, serving. Right? Now, in the last shloka of this section, that is shloka number 33, Krishna will now outline the goal of performing these yajnas and how it is to be distinguished from the other form of yajnas. Right? So, we are reading 32. In 33, Krishna is going to do that. So let us read that. श्रेयान द्रव्यमय यजंती जन्म यज्ञ परंतप जन यज्ञ परंतप सर्वम कर्मखिलम पार्थ ज्ञाने परिसंप्यते. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice of knowledge is greater than the sacrifice of material possessions. O son of Pritha, after all, the sacrifice of work culminates into transcendental knowledge. I'll read very nice. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice of knowledge is greater than the sacrifice of material possessions. That means Jnana Yagya is higher than Dravya Yagya, where you give up your possessions. O son of Pritha, after all, the sacrifice of work, when you sacrifice work, it culminates into transcendental knowledge. So here Krishna is concluding. The test of the kind of yajna we are performing is to see what extent we have developed transcendental knowledge. Otherwise, we have people who themselves perform yajna and are the most loose character people. And what is the perfection of transcendental knowledge? How can you say that a person has got the ultimate transcendental knowledge? Krishna explains in the 7th chapter, 19th sloka of the Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudevam sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabham. After many, many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. He's saying Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Bahunam means many, many. Janmanam, births, Ante. After many, at the end of many, many births, or after taking many, many births and having died many times, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. The person with intelligence surrenders to me and he understands Vasudevam Sarvamiti. That Vasudeva, that is Krishna, is Sarvamiti. Sa Mahatma. Such a person is Mahatma, not some political leader, with broken, broken teeth, wearing half naked, going everywhere. That is not Mahatma. That is political opportunist people. A person who understands Krishna to be the ultimate, such a person is called as Mahatma. So, after lifetimes, not one lifetime, after lifetimes of cultivating transcendental knowledge, one reaches the pinnacle, the crowning glory of realizing Krishna or Vasudev to be the source of everything, and thus he surrenders to Krishna. But if someone is simply sacrificing material opulence, but there is no arrival at the transcendental knowledge, it is a mere ritual. Like people say, I'll take 100 rupees, take 20,000 rupees, take 1 lakh rupees donation. They are not taking any interest. So that they will get some bhakti unmukh sukriti, they will get some punya, but they are not anywhere going close to getting transcendental knowledge, divya gyan. So it is a mere ritual which gives them minimal benefit, right? And a person may continue for lifetime because he gives donation for Krishna conscious purposes. He gets more money, then he gets more money, then he gets more money. So life after life, he'll only become rich because he's not developing transcendental knowledge. So we should also remember, simply chanting will not help. We should surrender and chant. We should try to gain knowledge. We should read. We should hear. We should attend classes and attentively hear, attentively chant, attentively read. Only then there is going to be some transcendental knowledge gained, and only then there will be progress. Right? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse by Mother Devahuti where she explains, she says, anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to the religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Lord must be considered dead, although breathing. Jivam api mruto hi saha. I'll read again, very interesting it is. He says, anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life. Person is working, but that work is not elevating him to religious life. Then he says, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances, he does religious things, but some ritualistic performances Do not raise him to become a renunciator. There is no renunciation. We are just going to temple, coming, we are liking it, we are dancing and coming, eating prasad, coming, but no renunciation is there. And anyone situated in renunciation already, but does not lead him to become a devotee of the Lord, such a person may be living, but he or she should be considered as dead, even though living. Janna api mrito hi saha. So they are called as living dead. Going ahead, first when we start to perform karma, we should perform some religious activities. From this, one should develop renunciation. This renunciation, as we discussed, should lead one to developing a desire to serve Krishna. Hmm? So, such a person is addressed herein as what? Tirtha Pad Sevai, one at whose lotus feet all the holy places reside. So, if one is doing so-called religious activities for years on end, but his sense gratificatory mentality is only increasing, then there is no point. You have seen people go to temple, they go to temple, they will chit chat there, come back, do the same thing. I want more saris, I want more gold, I want more shirts, I want more cars. Who are they better than those who go to the brothels or those who go to the beer bar? Other than that, they are good. But this is the use. So we have to be all very conscious. Today's three slokas that we are covering, they should make us to remind us about what? That our life should not be spiritual time pass. We're regularly attending, we're regularly hearing because we like to hear, because we like to attend, because we like to spend time in a positive way. Very good. But are we improving? Is our chanting improving? Is our religious performance increasing? Are we getting matured? Otherwise, fruits you have seen, na? There'll be a big, like grapes or some other fruits. So many will be there, or mangoes. 5, 6 will come at one place, but a few will grow properly, and others will remain as they are. That's why, because they have not got the correct nourishment. They have not got the correct things. So there is a problem. Hmm? So therefore, we should be careful, and we should see that we are going in a positive direction where we are developing transcendental knowledge, we are developing renunciation, we are in the right path, in the right association, we are chanting attentively and burning our karma. We are not repeating our bad things in the past that we have given up again. And therefore it is said, those who are not the devotees of the Lord, of Lord Hari, are to be considered as dead, even though they are living. And as we always keep on saying that what is the yajna that we have to do in Kali Yuga? It is Krishna Nam Yajna, the yajna of chanting the names of Lord Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In Bhagavad Gita, later on when we read, Krishna will explain Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi. In the 10th chapter, he is describing his glories, his own opulences he is describing. So there he said, Japana Yajñosi. So he says that amongst the japas, Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi. So among all the yagyas, what is the best yagya? That is me. That is Japa Yajñosmi. Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi. Krishna is saying, Buddhi Buddhi Matam Cham. I am the intellect of the intelligent. I am the strength of the strong. Dyutam Chala in the Dyuta is me. Similarly saying amongst, I am the topmost about everything. So in this age, there is Sankirtan Yajna. And what is the meaning of Sankirtan? Kirtan means chanting and San means together. So congregational chanting. We should be doing what? We should be chanting in the association of the devotees. Give me 1 second. Huh? Hello. Sorry, there was disturbance. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, everyone? Yeah. So, Lord Krishna appeared in this world as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he came and started the Sankirtana Yajna, right? Krishna Varnam Tusa Krishnam Sango Panga Srava Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti hi Sumedasha. So, Krishna Varnam Tusa Krishnam, Krishna came in a form, but his color was not like Krishna. Krishna is black, he was fair. Krishna Varnam Tusa Krishnam Sango Panga Srava Parshadam, he came with his Parshada, his followers. Why? Yajna Sankirtana prayer to start, prior to start what? Sankirtan Yajna. Yajantihi Sumedasha. So all the intelligent people should take benefit of it. So we'll stop here for today. So we should all remember a few points. I'll try to recapitulate. We should ensure that we are progressing in bhakti and not stagnant. Second, we should see that we are gaining more and more knowledge. We are gaining more and more renunciation. We are maturing and fructifying. Our chanting is increasing in quality. Our dealings with devotees are increasing in quality. We are teaching and trying to preach more and more. And we are basically increasing our thickness. Like milk, if you keep it, it will get spoiled. If you heat it and you thicken it, then it remains for a longer time. And like peda is there, you thicken it, and it becomes solid. Then it remains for a longer time. Right? So thank you very much to all of you for coming. We will meet tomorrow, Friday, for the reading session. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Bye. Hare Krishna. You may now leave the meeting.